Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. My name is Kamira Brown Goodson, and I welcome you all to Build Your Best Life, the Blueprint to Success. I am so delighted to have you all joining me today, and I have a very, very interesting discussion that I would like to share with you all here on the Blueprint. Here on the Blueprint for Success, our goal is to empower moms, uplift and encourage our young men that are about to head out into adult life. That is our goal here, and we aim. I'm being a single mom. That is one thing that I have always thought about. How do I, as a single mom, encourage my son for his future life? And here on the Build Your Best Life, the blueprint for success, that is our goal, to connect the moms and our young men with communities and educators and mentors that will direct them and guide them and support them along the way. So once again, I'm so delighted to have you all here. My name again is Kamira Brown. I am a mother, a mentor, an advocate, and that is what I love to do. So I hope you guys enjoy the conversation for tonight. Our conversation topic is son, it's okay to call home. You don't have to do this life alone. We want to my son gave me an assignment when I told him about this topic, and it was so funny that he said, "That's a great thing that you're talking about this because he has a friend that is now a father, and he is going into that realm of what do I teach my son along the way." And he gave him a lot of tips where some moms are not comfortable with talking to their sons about what's next in life after they've gone from 17, 18, and now going into adult life, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a couple of topics that I want to share with you all. I want to first share a story that ties into my topic, son, it's okay to call home. My son at the age of 21 would always say, I can't wait to get my own home. And I was like, me too. I can't wait. But deep down inside, I feared being an empty nester of letting him go to do his own thing. And so for the next couple of months, he kept saying he can't wait, he can't wait, he can't wait. And I was like, yeah, let the time go slow. But being a single mom, I always wondered, did I plant enough in him for him to succeed after he left the house? So from one year to the next, he kept saying he was ready, he was ready, he was ready. Well, I thought I had a couple more months for him to be prepared to go out on his own. And one day he walks in on his birthday and he says, I have my keys. And I'm like, you have your keys to what? And he said, I have my own apartment. So behind the scenes, this young man has already been working on getting his own place and he is ready. And I'm like, how are you ready? Where's the furniture? Where is you didn't tell me anything. So my topics today are, like I say, son, it's okay to call home. I have preparing them for the adult life, the breaking the mother hen chain, and what, how can we support them without overstepping boundaries. So I will dive right into my first topic. My son, as I said, he gave me a homework assignment on this. And how do we prepare our young men for adult life? And his first thing that I remember him always saying is, what are taxes? And I was like, that was an odd request of what should I prepare you for when he was a young boy. He had always heard of FICA. We all know what FICA is, right? So I, along the way, I started thinking when he told me that he had his own place, and we sat and we had a discussion like, are you ready? And he said, I believe I am. He said, I think you poured enough in me that I'm ready, but just in case I'm not, I'll call you. And I still feared. So I'll give you a couple of bullet points that he and I touched on with my homework assignment for this podcast. Preparing them for adult life entails preparing them for the life essentials, household duties, the easiest thing. For moms with a daughter, it's the easiest thing because daughters mimic us. They watch what we do. They follow in suit of what we do, and then we can just push them out there and they got it. If they don't, they have that natural instinct to pick it up and they go with it. With boys, we tend to do everything for them, right? We make sure that they see us, but sometimes they don't quite do it the right way. So we'll be, oh, move, I got it, I got it. But my son had always been one of those with he wanted more hands on than for us to do it for him. He was the only boy in the house full of three other women, so he wanted to experience that. But me still being a mom, I still kind of handpicked a lot of things that I allowed him to do or didn't allow him to do. So the topic is so some of my bullet points are preparing them in household duties, laundry. Teach them how to do laundry because most boys, what do? They take everything and they throw it in the washer, and some things come out pink, right? And then they'll say, well, you didn't tell me to separate it. So we taught him laundry dispensal. We taught him cooking. My son started cooking at the age of 7, 8 years old. And I had a friend girl to say, your son is cooking already? Yes, ma'am. He watches, he learns, he was eager to learn. So that was kind of like an easy task for me when he moved out because he had always been one to want to cook. He watched the YouTubes. He wanted to try new recipes. He was a dessert connoisseur, as I would say. So that was laundry and cooking and preparing the meals and yard work. Those are simple tasks that we can teach our young men for when they step out on their own. But then when we get past those bullet points for teaching them and educating them, then the hard part comes along, and that's when it comes into the financial life, the financial, area. Like, how do we teach them? They think money grows on trees. So everything that my son saw, he was like, "Can we get it? You can get it. You can buy it. Why not? Let's just go with it." And I'm like, "Son, it's not that easy. So I can't just buy it." So in our discussion, he was like, we didn't go a lot into the financial dispensary when he was growing up because to him, he saw the money. The girls were old enough to where they made money. They bought things for him. He had uncles and aunts that would buy him things. So a lot of stuff just kind of came easy because our goal was do what you have to do in school. We'll get it for you. So when it came to him being out there financially on his own, he had some knowledge of what we needed in him, but then there were other things that he didn't quite catch a grasp on until he finally got in his own place. We had this one thing with my kids where I would tell them, you shop for yourself, not for me or your sisters. So when he got to that point, so about 18, 19 years old, he would go shopping. And of course, you know how young kids are. They would just pick up what they liked, not thinking of the price. And he would come home and he would have certain things. And it was like, you didn't get what you really needed. Where's the meat? Where's the substance? So we had to revisit that. It's like, okay, now you're older. He went out and as he moved into his own place and he shopped the way he wanted to shop, not paying attention to the foundation of really shopping. Okay, so he got into his new place and I'll say I laughed at it. I chuckled a lot because he came home and he was like, I need to raid your pantry. I was like, for what? And he was like, I didn't quite budget myself the right way. He knew how to shop, but he didn't shop efficiently. So I would say that is one important factor that we need to pour in when we're thinking of our young men going off, whether they're going off to college or they're about to move into their own places. At an early age, I would say, because my son, I asked him, what would be a good age that you would recommend something like that? He said about 13, 14 years old. Let them start doing their own shopping. Let them, get them, ledgers to where he can start managing their money. Of course, we give them, the money to do chores around the house, but they get that money and they get to go do what they want. But at that early age, I believe that we need to start pouring back into them and just letting them know, let's learn how to budget. This is what you're allotted. This is what you need to learn how to save, but this is what you also need to learn how to buy. And then in our conversation, he said, remember taxes, because we teach them one thing, but we don't tell them about taxes and how it's going to work. Well, they think that they hear a lot of people talk about taxes. Oh, I'm going to file my first taxes and this is what I'm going to get back. Well, not necessarily, because some people, a lot of mom, we file our taxes and we have dependents and we get the extra earned income. But you're single. You won't get what we receive. And he didn't quite understand that. So, that was something that he and I went into as far as getting into financial stability and learning what's what and how to save and build on for himself. Um, so another bullet point for us is self-reliance. Um, funny thing is my son doesn't get sick very often. Now he gets injured a lot, but he doesn't really get sick a lot. So when I say self-reliance, I'm saying if you have a child that doesn't really get sick, they don't have to go to the doctor a lot. We get them a yearly checkup, and then they're good for the rest of the year. Well, me being the mom, as he grew on, um, he moved out, and he was on his own and everything, and he got sick. And the first question was, what am I supposed to do? And I was like, do you have insurance on your job? He was like, yeah. I was like, well, go to a doctor. He's like, what doctor? And he was like, well, where did you used to take me? And that was the explaining area that I had to go with for him was, well, when I took you to the doctor, you were a kid. You're an adult now. So it's time for you to find an adult doctor. Primary care, not a child doctor or anything like that. So that's a good bullet point for our young men, for us as parents to start, early on. I think in this era that it would be a good thing when they get to the age of 15 and 16 and 17 years old for them to have this. My son has a little book that he keeps and he writes everything down that I talk to him about. And that's the great thing for me and my son is he loves to talk, just like his mom. But I used to always wonder, is he absorbing it all? And when he came in with this little booklet, I'm like, he listened and he wrote a lot of it down. But there were still areas that I missed when it came to the self-reliance, when it came to healthcare, when it came to setting appointments, when it came to having his own documents. We missed that. We'll give him the Social Security card and the birth certificate. But what about transcripts from school? What about activities and certifications and their diplomas and such? We let them leave and we forget about this stuff because we have put it away for protection, but we didn't give it to them when they left. So my son and I talked about the reliance, self-reliance, and making sure that we have that. He has this thing that he always says to me is, let it ride. That's one of his, things, like let it ride. Anything that you have to tell him, just let it all out. And I like that he wants that in him. Even at the age of 22, he still sets time for us to have conversations when it comes to um, those self-reliant moments. Like he'll tell me, I don't quite know it all, but I need to learn. And that will take us into another one of my topics. Basically, teaching the accountability as they grow up into adulthood. Accountability is a key point. We as parents, um, we 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 do a lot of things for them, and we tend to fix it. Something happens, we fix it. Something goes on, or something is about to happen, and we'll try to go before them. And before you know it, it is it's taking them. It's not holding them accountable for all the things that they're going to experience later on in life. And my son is one of those that's very quick to tell me, "Can you step back for a moment?" And as a mom, it's like you don't want to hear your child say step back for a moment. It's like, I'm still your mom. I'm still your mama. But we have to let them learn. We have to let them take accountability and face things head on that they are gonna face by the time they move out of our house. Um, we still hold on to that, and that's why I love this topic, son, it's okay to call home, because we as parents, we don't know, we know it, we've lived it, we've gone through it with them, but at that point in time when they're moving out and going on, we don't remember to tell them every single thing that they need to know once they're out of the house, right? So that's where we have to make sure that we're diligent in having an open communication with our young boys as they, prepare for college. Even with college, not just moving into their own homes. When they're away at college and they're miles away, um, we can't jump up as if they're around the corner, 30 minutes away. They're 2 and 3 hours away. We want to make sure that we instill that with our young men, right? Um, with all of this, I will say that for me, and I always say with my bullet points and taking notes from my son, we're promoting maturity with all of these tasks. If we start early, then we feel more secure in knowing that, okay, I can breathe a little bit once they leave, right? And that's the key, is for us to be able to breathe at night and not worry about what's going on. Is he okay? Does he need me? And when they get sick, if he calls and says, hey, I'm not feeling too good, what was it that you used to give me? We're teaching we're promoting maturity, we're teaching them life skills, we're teaching them self-reliance, and all those other factors in life that they need. But we're also leaving the door or the phone line open for them to call us and be okay. Like I'm going to throw this empty nester thing in. Um, it's not easy. It's kind of like going through like the grieving process. Like, I don't know how to breathe now. My little man isn't here with me. He's a grown man now, and my son used to, like I say, he always tells me these funny little, key words, and he was like, "Oh, you gotta let it go, mom. You gotta let it go. I'll be okay. You're okay, but I'm not okay, right?" So those are my beginning bullet points. Let's see, we are going to go into my next topic. I love this one, um, the detachment skills. How do we prepare um, for how can we help without overstepping boundaries? Um, my son, and you guys, I love referring to my son. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. My daughter tends to, think she's the best. Like, I'm your best friend. My son really is. I think because he was here like the last one, he tends to take up all the space. Um, My son and I have this thing where he set this time up. How to set routines up for us, because my expectation was, are you coming to visit me? Are you coming to visit me? Are you coming to visit me? And his thing was, when I get the time, right? So, how do we help them without overstepping our boundaries as a parent, allowing them to be an adult? And it wasn't an easy task for me. I was so used to having someone in the house or talking to somebody that by the time he graduated from high school and started hanging with his friends, and then he got a job and he was ready to move out on his own, I didn't quite break loose so easy as I thought I would. But he made me break loose when he walked in the door on his 22nd birthday and said, I got the keys, right? So with with that, uh, it's I'll use the word shifting from control to support. Um, where I didn't I had to learn to trust what he was doing, how he was doing it, and when he was going to do it, and just being supportive of when he told me he was going to do something and how he was going to do it. And if he made the mistake, he had to fix it. And me sit back and allow him to come and ask me for the help or the support. And that's the thing, is us giving, allowing them to run their own life, and us feel as though we're no longer needed. um, he he grew up pretty fast. My son was changing a tire at the age of 12 and 13 years old. And at the age of 15, he was doing oil changes. And by the time he was, in his almost 20 years old, he was ready to start doing spark plugs on cars. So my thing was, okay, he's learned this stuff outside. Why can't I trust him with the things that I taught him inside the home? So where it says, where I say shifting from control to support, that was me having to learn these things. Like we're shifting, roles now, right? um, and listening to the things that he's doing and the things that he's taken a desire to do, and not judging him for how he's doing it or picking at him for how he's doing it, but allowing him to do it. Because here we are, we're moms, we're older, and in this day and age, so many things are changing where they're doing it different ways. Some of it is more efficient. Some of it is not. You know how our grandma used to say, well, baby, it's nothing like doing things the old fashioned way, because we did it nice and slow. This generation moves a whole lot faster on certain things, but in certain areas, it works for them. And they get things done, and then a different outcome comes. So, but that was where I was once he moved out, where I had to shift that position. Like, you're my friend, and he has this, give me a bump, or we had this hand thing, that we had going on, like, I got this. And if he didn't have it, then he'd be like, I'll call you later, we'll talk about it. And I was so anxious, like, when are you going to call me? I need you to, I'm waiting on these calls. But he was fixing it and preparing it and doing it in his own way. I couldn't rush the process. I had to allow his process, how he did it in life. Um, and it started making sense. First 6 months of him being out of the house, um, it was anxiety. Yeah, I went through this, calling my daughter, hey, call your brother and see how he's doing. And she's like, Mom, he's okay. I talked to him yesterday. Like, that was yesterday. What about today? Mom, he's okay. A week would go by, and I'm like, he's only called me once this week. So what's going on, you know? So it as mothers preparing our young men, I think we have to also prepare ourselves early on, because we think, okay, once they get up in their teens, 17, 18, 19 years old, that's where it all starts. I'm learning now, and I have a grandson that'll be coming up, and I'll have to be teaching this stuff to my daughter, that all these teachings start much younger. If we think about it, these kids are so much more sophisticated. Look at how they're using tablets. 56 years old, and I still have to call my granddaughter and ask her, how do you set controls on a tablet, or how do you work the TV? So we have to start teaching our kids the primary goals and factors of life early on. While they're learning the technology part, we have to teach them the foundational part at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, so that it carries over by the time they reach their teens, because they're going to be spiraling out and going and doing things. And then we miss out, like, oh, I didn't teach them that, or I didn't talk to them enough about that. So that's why I loved when I chose this topic of it's okay to call home. It really made a point, because not just it's okay for him to call home as if he needed the support. It's me still needing the support from him, because there are a lot of things that he's learning out there, and he'll come and he'll talk to me about it. So I love that now um, we've reached a place in our relationship, mother and son, where we talk more, and he sets this. So I'll plug this in. It is very important that we allow our sons to set the routine. I may have said that, but we allow them to set the routine for our time, their life, things tend to go a little bit smoother, right? We adapt to what they are doing in their life. It's not about us, controlling them again. Like I say, controlling, shifting from one position to the next. When I got used to it, before I knew it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm okay. I made it through a week without a phone call. He'll send me a text by the end of the week. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. Um, those are the plugins. When I say allow them to set the routine, allow them to I want to say dictate. It kind of sounds a little crazy with dictate, right? But it is. It's them living their life and us joining on the bandwagon, to say. Um, when I'm used to Sunday dinners, my son said, "I'll let you know." I'm like, okay, I'm used to that, but I'll adapt to when you want to come over. You'll let me know ahead of time. So when and after with that, closing on that topic of how we help them without overstepping boundaries, we have to learn to stop trying to fix everything for them, and just allow them to explore things their way. And it smooth itself out, you know. Still, look, my son has been out for over 3 years now, and he's moved a lot closer to where I am, and I still look forward to those, once or twice a week visits, and he's like, they won't always be the same time. I got it. He's grown, grown, dating, doing his own thing. So, hey, as a mom, what can we do? Um, while we are moving in, I want to say thank you to everyone that is tuning in. Hi, everyone. Um, First and foremost, let me say greetings and thank you to Miss Deborah Smith for setting this platform. Um, we could, when I first found out about this platform, it was a much needed time that I needed the platform. So, building your best life, the blueprint for success, is a platform where moms come together, where there are advocates that will support us, not just single moms, but single, dads or, parents that need the support, building a community for our young boys as they branch out into adulthood. Ms. Deborah, thank you so much for allowing me and entrusting me to join in on this. I'm learning so much more from so many of our guests on the platform. And to our those that are tuning in, thank you all. So be sure to click like, subscribe to the page. If you're tuning in from my side, I see Miss Bo. Thank you for tuning in. Um, hey, she has a son. And so she's really learning. She's at that marker where her son is about to branch out and do his own thing. So thank you for tuning in. Your question, was it harder to let your son go than it was? It was most definitely harder for me to let um, my son go, with the girls. Like I say, the girls were, uh, they were moms by the time they were ready to step out, and they had been living, walking the mommy role. So it was easy to let them go, than it was for my son versus Darius. He was my ride or die partner, everything, and like I said, he was the last one here. So it was a little harder to let him go. Unexpectedly, he popped out the house, and that was it. So, be prepared. Be prepared. I think I've given you a couple of pointers on that as well, Bo. That once they reach a certain age, you will notice they start a disconnect from you, right? They start wanting to do things on their own. So, once again, thank you for tuning in. And to our other guests, like I say, please join in on the conversation. You have questions, hey, I'm here to answer. And if I don't have the answer today, I promise you, I have some great people that will be here to answer some of those questions. Um, so tune in with us every Thursday, from 5:30 Central Time, 6:30 Eastern Time. And so thank you all for that question, Bo. On my last topic, it is breaking the mother hen chain. That was not. So I know I kind of tagged in on some of that. How do you prepare yourself for that? I called my son today and I asked him, did I handle it good when you left? And he said no. He did not. I called him every day. I sent him text messages all the time. I asked him, was he coming to visit? And he was like, hey, I live a little bit a ways from you, so I'm not going to be able to come every day, you know. But it was breaking the mother hen role. Um, I think my one of his saying, another one of his famous sayings is, "Let it breathe." It took me a while to understand what that really meant from his perspective. What he was basically saying was, in due time, it will be okay. So just breathe. My anxiety was all over the place because you think of the areas that they live in and what are they doing wrong? Are people watching them and all the things that could be um, going wrong out there. We always want to protect our children, right? And with, like it's my son, he became so self sufficient at an early age doing some things, but then there were a lot of things that he didn't know. So when it came to breaking the mother hen chain, as I call it, um, he he taught me in that area. Um, he would come and he would have dinner with me, and we would discuss what he wants to do next in his life, and how he wanted to do it. And he would be like, and it'll be okay. I won't be over here for a day or two, and but I'll be okay. And that was it tied into when I would call, call my daughter and say, "Hey, check on your brother. How's he doing? What's going on? Um, how how can I help?" I had to stop crippling him. I'll give you our biggest thing was finances. He still struggled a little bit when it came to the finances area. He took care of his bill, but there were a lot of things he played with, and then before you know it, he needed a little assistance on that. And me as mom, hey mom, do you have? Yes, I dish that cash out. I help him with that. He'd give it back, but that was my that was kind of like my leverage. If I give it to him, he'll come back. If I loan it to him, he'll come back. Hey, I'm cooking, you come back. So breaking the mother hen chain, it takes time, but you have to be diligent about doing it, right? Because if not, then you're going to be crippling your child. You have some parents that are their children have been out of the house for 5, 6 years, and they're still doing laundry for their children. They're still paying cell phone bills for their children. Um, and that's where we're crippling our young men um, today. A lot of young men. I'm not just saying young men, our daughters as well, but we have to break those routines that we've been going through with our children to let them know, hey, I'm here when you really, really need me. Your money is your money. My money is my money. You have to balance out your thing while I'm balancing out my thing. You can't depend on my thing, right? So, me learning to release some of the things that I was doing for him or the expectations, it it took time, but it happened. Um, I'm one of those. I know I said a lot about my son and how he is in certain ways, but I'm really what they call a tougher. Um, I will push you out there to the wolves if I have to when I see that you're taking advantage of certain things. And that was where I had to remind myself, okay, you did it to your girls. Why can't you do it to your son? And that's the funny part is that it's like he's my baby. He's the last one. I can't let him go the way I did with the girls. Because, like I say, the girls learned quickly. But my son also learned a lot of things fast as well, but still, he was the last one, the last of the Mohicans, and I was so not ready to let him go. So I think that was me more afraid of the empty nest portion of life. And my son would always remind me that, hey, I'm not going to be here forever. And I'm like, you never think it's really going to happen. Like, oh, he'll be here forever. He'll be here to about 25, 26 years old. 22, and he was out the door. And the only reason it was 22 is because COVID hit and he had to wait that extra year. But when he was able, he was out. So breaking the mother hen chain, learning to let go of the overprotecting, um, dealing with your own anxieties of being alone. Those are some factors that you have to key in. Trusting that you've taught them more than enough um, of what they'll need when they move into their adult life, when they move into college, when they move into their own home, or when they, even if they decide to go live with their siblings, that they won't have to depend on you as much. You start breaking that chain. Um, we learn that we learn to do things together, and I let him lead, go ahead of me and do it. So that way it wasn't him depending on me. It was me watching him do the things that I taught him. And I was like, he got this. He got it all together. I'm like, thank you. I didn't have to, um, I didn't have to struggle as hard as I thought I would on some things, but there were moments, like I say, when it was okay for him to call home and ask me for my advice, and we have that hour-long conversation. And the timing fit for he and I, um, where he set check-in times. I allowed him to start doing it where I didn't tell him how to do certain things. He started setting the rules for us, and so breaking the mother hen chain, like I say, it's been 3 years and I'm still in class. So as I started off with our podcast today, I had some homework to do. And he gave me, some nuggets, and I appreciate those nuggets. So for the mothers that are raising young men, young boys that are about to branch out into adulthood, or going off to college, um, I hope that some of these nuggets resonate for you, that you're able to take some of these nuggets and pour them into your young boys, and prepare them for what's coming up next in life. We miss some of the importance. Like I say, once again, doing their own taxes, they have a job. And they may be working part-time and making small money, but learning to save money on a small level, whether it's $25 a week or every 2 weeks that they get paid, and not pay attention to it, teach them how to, unseen is the best way to save. So if they don't see it, teach them how to move it into a savings account or an IRA, so that they can prepare themselves for when they move out, and they're not looking for your money to help do everything when they finally move out. Going off to college, prepare them for all the information that they'll need, like I say, household chores, washing their own clothes, all that information. So I hope that these nuggets and these tools and tips are something that you can pour into your boys, and even for you. I hope that some of my story helps you as you prepare for your young man to step out. It has really been a journey, and still a journey. Once again, I said I have a grandson that we will be going through this again. So I'm looking forward to teaching my daughter some of these things. Um, so I hope that you enjoyed this evening's podcast here at Build Your Best Life, the Blueprint to Success, where our mission and our goal is to assist and to help moms build a community for our young men as they grow into adult life. Connect them with your church leaders, family member men that will need it, because we as moms, we don't have all the answers, but a man, can help us along the way. So join us on next week, next Thursday, 5:30 Central Standard Time, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, here. And I may be bringing somebody special on. He's always on here, but I hope that we get a chance to have some conversations, because his topic last week ties into my topic this week, and who knows what we'll be able to talk about next week. So once again, thank you all for tuning in, and have a great evening.